Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond GALNET with your host Zara Peppers. Hopefully this video isn't going to look like crap. I've been rendering with the same settings I usually do, but lately in the upload process it ends up looking pretty terrible, so fingers crossed. Today we take a look at the recent initiative to bring liberated slaves to the Uaboth system from planets around the Empire. Princess Aisling Duval is the mind behind this project. She's created a colony in which the liberated slaves could be re-educated and protected so they can live out their lives as they see fit. This is part of a broader initiative by the princess to end the slave trade within the empire once and for all. She met with the leaders of the Prismatic Imperium to seek support for her initiative, where she again reiterated her desire to end the slave trade in the empire. Lord Corwin Ryan, leader of the Prismatic Imperium, confirmed that she will receive financial support to establish the new colony, so with the help of the Imperium and the independent factions of the Durest station, the new colony was created. Now they are looking for pilots who can bring as many slaves to the new sanctuary as possible, with the promise of significant rewards. Upon arrival, the former slaves will be emancipated and re-educated so they can become productive members of society. For those who are interested in helping out, the initiative started on February 18th and will go on for 1 week. So in other words, it's over now. The biggest question is whether the Uaboth system is the ideal place to attempt this sort of mass reintegration of the slaves. Despite this effort, the slave trade is still tolerated in the Empire-controlled system, and at the moment it is engulfed in war between a number of different factions vying for power. From my personal experience, travel within the Uaboth system is far from safe. With these factors to consider, what lengths is the Imperial Royal willing to go to in order to protect these vulnerable former slaves? The sizable amount of omnipresent Imperial clippers even made me rethink not paying my fine for a minor infraction. The Uaboth system is a trinary star system consisting of 6 planets orbiting Uaboth a star only slightly larger than the Sol system's sun, and lays deep in Imperial-controlled space. Most of the planets are around half the size of Earth, with one being almost the same size. None of them are habitable at this time, with atmospheres ranging from primarily carbon dioxide to primarily nitrogen, but provide a rich source of valuable metals. A small station and a larger station orbit 2 of these planets, while Uaboth A3 has a moon that has 3 major settlements on the surface. The economy in the Uaboth system is primarily based on 2 terraforming projects. This could provide work for the liberated slaves so they can make some money and begin to establish themselves in their new lives. However, much of the terraforming work could be just as difficult as the harsh conditions that they experienced in their former occupation. This may not be the greatest way of introducing them into free society while they're in such a fragile state after being reintegrated. Despite being paid for their labor, it may still be too reminiscent of their former lives. However, on the positive side, after these planets have been terraformed, it could provide them with an ideal place to live and begin their new lives. On habitable planets that can provide them with all their needs and even wants. Being able to see blue skies, lakes, oceans, mountains, and nature could be the perfect motivation for them. Being able to experience the environment that us humans are most suited for, water to drink, and fresh air to breathe. The planet that the Durest station orbits is around half the size of Earth and currently has an atmosphere of 98% carbon dioxide. Even when oxygen has been introduced, the planet having half the gravity of Earth could have adverse effects on their development, so proper exercise would have to be mandatory to keep them in good health to compensate for the decreased gravity. The biggest concern is still their close proximity to the continuing slave trade. Even just this morning I was looking through the commodities market at Durest Station, and there was plenty of slaves on the market at relatively low prices too. They may be protected from being sold back into the slave trade, but that doesn't prevent some from possibly being coerced. Inevitably, some will have a more difficult time being reintegrated into society. And if they're unable to make enough money, there is the possibility that they will be manipulated to rejoin the slave market. We can all appreciate Mrs. Duval's effort to change a slave system that has been in place for centuries, but one might wonder whether or not they should have been relocated to a system that is not under imperial control, or at least a system where the slave trade isn't as tolerated as it is here. But with this incentive underway, only time will tell how this experiment will work, whether or not the slaves can be reintegrated into free society, or whether they'll end up exactly where they started. That will be determined by time and what kind of effort she will put into their protection. On that note, that's another episode of Beyond GALNET. Now I'm gonna head back to my home system of LTT 7979 to make some cash in the meantime. So until next time, good night.
Docking successful. Engines disengaged.
And if they are unable to make enough money, there is the possibility that they will balls.